What's up guys, my name is PJ, welcome to my channel. I have decided to re-upload this video. This video is a video that used to be on my channel. This actually was the most popular video on my channel for a long time. And this video, I decided to re-upload it because initially it was taken down due to a copyright, which in this introduction, I am going to explain that situation. The actual video will begin in about 10 to 15 minutes after I get done with this introduction to this re-uploaded edition. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, but knowing myself and knowing how this situation impacted me, I may tend to go a little bit more deeply into it. But I just wanted to talk to you guys about, in this introduction, I wanted to say what this video was and basically when it was first uploaded, kind of the story of its initial upload and the rise to kind of like virality that it had at one point. And then second, what basically took it down, what was the reason of it being taken down. And third, why I decided to re-upload it. So those are kind of the main things that I'm going to talk about in this introduction. If you don't want to hear those, which I actually encourage you to do so, to hear them, because I feel like they play an important role in what you're about to see in the actual video, which will be further down the road in this video, in this re-uploaded edition. But if you want to just get into kind of the letting go technique, you can skip to that chapter, which will be a few chapters ahead from this point forward. So let's jump into talking about what this video was and when it was uploaded, kind of the initial story of it. So I made this video, the letting go technique video, based on Dr. Hawkins's letting go book. And in that book, he basically talks about the letting go technique. So this technique is a technique that I learned from his teachings and from that book. So I uploaded that video in January of 2021. It kind of sat there under 100 views for 3 months. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, it got like 4,000 views. Due to just like some algorithm stuff, and it started getting a lot of viewership. And then from there, it just snowballed and gained more and more views until the time that it was taken down, which was January of 2022. So it was basically it was online for a whole year. At that point, when it was taken down, it had 14.4K views, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And it was the most viewed video on my channel. And it was a video that a lot of people said in the comments that it's the best letting go technique video that they found on YouTube. And it was a video that had helped a lot of people based on the comments and the likes that I was receiving on that video. So that was really, just to put it also in a short kind of nutshell, that's also the same reason why I wanted to re-upload it, because I felt like if there's something that I have that can help that many people, and the purpose of my channel being to help as many people as possible as I can, then not uploading this video again would be a disservice. So first, let's talk about, now that I've talked about kind of the initial story of that video, let's talk about why it was taken down. So in that video, and if you watch it now, you will see that there is a part that is going to be cropped out, it's going to be taken out, that I've put like a white rectangle over it. In that area, in that video, there was a map called the map of consciousness. It's basically a chart that Dr. Hawkins introduced to the world, and it's a chart that you actually may have seen in a lot of YouTube videos, in a lot of different places online. You know, I feel like even if you do a quick Google search, you can definitely see this map. And it was one of Dr. Hawkins' biggest contributions to humanity, and it was something that he had introduced to the world so that people can use it and benefit from it. So not once did I ever think in my life that this gift that Dr. Hawkins gave to the world, for the world to use, for people to use and learn from and benefit from and teach to others, which is really, if you ever like read Dr. Hawkins' books or lectures, he's all about helping alleviate, that's actually quote word by word what he always says, helping alleviate the suffering of all mankind. That was his main mission. And he even said in one program I was listening to that he never charged for his programs more than what the cost was. So like basically almost like no profit. He wasn't trying to like use this material to make a profit. He was just like trying to literally share it with the world and help the world. So not ever once did I ever think in my mind that this thing that Dr. Hawkins created that wanted to share with the world, if I share with the world as well and help people with it while giving all the credit to Dr. Hawkins, having all his links in the description, while saying his name a billion times in the video, not once did I think if I do all those things that somehow that's going to be a problematic issue. But apparently it was. And in January of 2022, I found out that that map of consciousness is copyrighted by Veritas Publications, which was Dr. Hawkins' foundation. However, Dr. Hawkins is not around anymore in physical form. He's passed away, but his late wife, Suzanne Hawkins, is who basically is the CEO of Veritas Pub and owns the copyright, or those copyrights, the rights to those charts and the books and all of Dr. Hawkins' teaching. So in January of 22, the same time that my video was taken down, actually 2 of my videos were taken down in the span of a week. And if you know anything about YouTube and its copyright laws, basically if you get 3 copyright strikes, if you have 3 videos taken down from your channel due to a copyright issue within a span of 90 days, that is an immediate termination of your channel as a whole. So in January of 22, now I got 2 within 90 days, thankfully. But within that same time period, January of 22, beginning of the year, a lot of channels who posted Dr. Hawkins content while giving all the credit to Dr. Hawkins, saying his name 1,000 times, saying that this is from Dr. Hawkins, whether it was them making content talking about something that he had taught, which that actually was less common. A lot of channels were basically, just like if you listen to anyone famous on YouTube, you probably have seen 1,000 different clips from them everywhere on YouTube. Like let's say like a person that a lot of people make clips of is Dr. Jordan Peterson, like his lectures. A lot of people will clip those and share them, as like little basically clips on YouTube. Or Joe Rogan, or whoever, a lot of people have their clips basically everywhere that other people are posting. And so Dr. Hawkins and his devoted fans who had those YouTube pages, they basically were using his lectures and making clips from them and putting them on their pages, on their YouTube pages. So those channels, a lot of those channels, while giving all the credit to Dr. Hawkins, were completely removed. So in the beginning of the year, Veritas Publishing and Suzanne Hawkins, the owner of the copyright of the maps and the content and all of Dr. Hawkins' lectures, basically I feel like they had a new initiative. And if you go on their Facebook page, you can find this new basically law or terms of service that they decided to have, or terms that they decided to have basically for usage of their content. If you go on their Facebook page, Veritas Publications Facebook page, you can see their statement. And it was about beginning of the year that they came up with that kind of new strategy and formula and approach for how they're going to approach people posting Dr. Hawkins content online. And they just went after a lot of people. Like channels were getting taken down left and right. My own channel was, I barely like hanging on. And again, all these channels are being taken down. They didn't have malicious intent. These are people that wanted to share Dr. Hawkins' works with the world because it had helped them. They wanted to basically carry forward his legacy and his teachings by sharing them with more people, which I deeply believe that's what Dr. Hawkins would have wanted. He wouldn't want to teach something to the world so that nobody else can share that with others. Dr. Hawkins knew he's not going to be around forever, but his teachings will be. And when he's not here anymore in person, then who's going to share those, So the students that have learned from him will become the disciples will become their own teachers, as well. And so I never once thought that there would be a problem with that. But these channels, again, were being taken down. So apparently there is a problem with that. Now, the thing that got me, like I said, was having the map of consciousness in my video, the chart or the diagram of it, which again, if you just do a quick Google search, I'm sure that you can find it online in thousands of different websites. But nonetheless, I mean, they are going after anywhere they can find it to take it down. But that's kind of the copyright issue that I encountered. Like I said earlier, a lot of channels encountered it with clips of Dr. Hawkins lectures and so on and so forth. But what is, there were just like some things that to me were confusing about that situation. One of them was like, I know there are gigantic channels that have that map. Now, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus. I support the work those people do. And I think it's incredible. And I'm glad that they have it. But there are huge channels that have that in their videos, even in their thumbnails, which is super obvious. But those are still up. So that was confusing. That was like one of the first confusing things to me. Another confusing thing was, it was just like the unclarity of like, what can we say and not say? Like, can we just have a book? Like, can we talk about the book? Or, you know, what are like basically, because it didn't make sense based on what I just said about certain ones are up still, certain ones are not. Like, what is going on? So that beginning period was super confusing for any creator that made any content related to Dr. Hawkins. And like I said, I was very confused as to how certain people get to keep that chart up and small channels like mine are getting targeted. Now, I don't know if that's because that person that was just going after the channels had not found those, which I find less likely because it would be harder to find my video as a small channel than a bigger one. Or it was just like, it was easier to take down smaller channels than go after bigger ones. I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions, but that was just like a very confusing period when all of this first started, when all of the copyright strikes were being given to channels. And I was certainly confused. But my main thing was, I felt like I am under the fair use laws. I felt like because I have given so much credit, if you watch the video after this introduction, you'll see how many times I'm talking about Dr. Hawkins. I'm like, this is Dr. Hawkins' work. This is something he taught, he introduced to the world. I say that 1,000 times. So I didn't understand how, even though I am giving so much credit to the main author and have links to his book so people can purchase, which would benefit the organization of Veritas Publishing by me helping sell books for them, I didn't understand how, even though I'm giving so much credit, it's still problematic. And what added to that confusion was, again, what I said earlier, which is knowing how Dr. Hawkins would, like his heart, basically where his heart was with his teaching, how much he freely wanted to give and share with the world so that the world can benefit from and the suffering of mankind can be reduced. I could not understand how what I did was problematic. I felt like if Dr. Hawkins was standing right there, he would have been like, yeah, this is what I wanted people to do. Like I didn't want my teachings to just sit in a vault, that's not going to be copyrighted. He wanted it to be out there, just like what, this saying from Jesus that says, if you have a lamp, you don't want to put it under a desk, or a table. You want to put it on a hillside so you can give light to the world, basically. And I feel like that's what Dr. Hawkins wanted to have with his teachings as well. And again, I know I'm going more deeply into this introduction than I intended, but bear with me. It's almost to the end, and I'm going to share with you why I decided to re-upload this video. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about why I decided to re-upload this video. And then after that, I'm going to have a short message for creators who create content related to Dr. Hawkins's works and teachings and so on and so forth. So first of all, let me say that I believe Suzanne Hawkins is entitled to her viewpoint and what she wants to do with the copyright that she owns. I just truly didn't believe that that's what Dr. Hawkins would have wanted himself. But again, Suzanne Hawkins is completely free to do as she wants with the copyright that she owns. And that's basically all I'm going to say about that. I just personally didn't see eye to eye with her in that situation. and I didn't think that. Now, again, she was much closer to Dr. Hawkins, so maybe Dr. Hawkins wanted, this situation. I can't say for certain, just based on what I've heard him say in teachings, books, lectures, I cannot believe that that's what he would have wanted. But again, Suzanne Hawkins is entitled to do as she pleases with her copyright. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Now I'm just going to talk about why I decided to re-upload the original Letting Go video. Now, the reason I decided to re-upload that video and also to re-upload the original and not make a new one is because I believe that that video was, as it was super helpful to a lot of people. And it's not just based on my intuition, it's based on the comments that I was receiving that that video was helping a ton of people. So I didn't want to, basically it wasn't broken, so I didn't want to fix it. So I decided to re-upload it just as it was and share the original video. I have taken out the copyrighted part of the map of consciousness in the video, so that is taken out. And also there is a mention of another video as I'm talking about the letting go technique. I say, hey, check out this other video over here, or I actually point to the wrong area, but the links go over here, but I ended up pointing over there, but that's besides the point. That video also was taken down, so you won't find that video either. But the reason I decided to re-upload this video is because I truly believe it would be helpful to a lot of people. My whole goal with this channel when I started it and to this day is to be truly helpful and share what I have learned in hopes that it helps other people. And I knew that this video for a fact will do that. So I could not, I sat with it for a long time. The video was taken down in January. I'm uploading it again in August. So I sat with it for a long time. I went back and forth in my mind many times as to what I should do. And ultimately, now that I'm fully out of that situation and kind of the drama associated to it, in my heart, I know that this video should exist online. And even if it doesn't get any views like it did, because a lot of elements played into it getting the views that it did. So even if it doesn't come across the radar of a lot of people, even if 5 people see a benefit from it, to me that's a win. And I wanted this video to exist on the YouTube sphere so that whoever is looking for it and whoever is ready for it finds it and come across it. So that's why I decided to re-upload it. Now all the issues are removed from it, all the problematic things, the copyright stuff, the map of consciousness, all that stuff is removed. And I'm truly trying to do everything right by the Veritas publications and their new kind of laws around that. And I truly believe I am doing everything right in this re-uploaded edition. I don't believe I'm doing anything wrong. So with that said, I wanted to re-upload it knowing that it's going to help a lot of people, and I wanted it to exist now that it's problem-free and it can't get copyright strikes. At least not that I know of. I am, you always find new things that are copyrighted, but we'll see how this goes. Now, lastly, I wanted to share a message with creators who make content related to Dr. Hawkins. This is a message that's been on my heart since the beginning of all of this stuff, since January, but because I was still in the YouTube jail for 90 days and all that stuff due to copyright, I didn't want to talk about anything related to Dr. Hawkins whatsoever. But now that I'm out of that period, I wanted to share just a little message, a word of caution to anyone who is creating or aspiring to create content related to Dr. Hawkins, or who has content related to Dr. Hawkins on their channel. Be very careful, okay? They will go after you, especially if your video is like super obvious to find. Then definitely tread lightly and be careful, because last thing I would want, no one understands how much, I didn't understand how much work a YouTube channel is and takes. It's a lot of work. It's hours and years and decades, of work to get a channel to a certain place. So last thing I would want for any channel, for any creator, is to have their work removed like that within an instant due to just 3 copyright strikes within a span of 90 days that you can't refute. So that is the worst thing that can happen. And it's been on my heart to share this word of warning to you, not as something to like scare you, but like basically something to say, hey, this could happen to you and I would not want that for you. And a lot of channels, I actually have great friends. I made great friends through the situation. Actually, my friends Roger and Sabine from a channel called Raise the World Project. I believe that's their channel name. I just know them by their first name basis better than their channel name, but their channel is amazing. They do a lot of awesome content and have grown tremendously, but they also got 2 copyright strikes when this all was going down. And another whole channel was taken down called Source Incarnate, that was basically sharing Dr. Hawkins content. And another channel, this was the biggest Dr. Hawkins channel, called Willie Study Yourself. That channel was sharing that channel was around for like 10 plus years. You know, it was one of the first and only channels that was sharing Dr. Hawkins content online. And it was basically sharing clips like the Source Incarnate channel. And that channel was almost taken down. I actually don't think it was actually fully taken down, but he took down all his videos, all of them. So there's maybe like 5 videos on his channel versus like 400 that he had. So that situation, during that situation, me and Roger were talking from Raise the World project. We were talking about how we definitely need to make a video that's kind of a warning to other students of Dr. Hawkins who want to make content about his teachings. I'll just say this, like, it's so unfortunate to say this, but in a lot of ways it has gotten to a point that it's almost not worth it. And it's become a really problematic thing to do. It's difficult. Definitely can't share the map of consciousness. I don't even know what you can share about the map of consciousness. Like, I don't even know if you can. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, would it be okay if you just like draw a line and say, these like states are down here and these are up here? Like, would that be okay? I don't know. I'm just saying, it's like, tread lightly when it comes to this stuff, and then definitely don't share his clips. My friends Roger and Sabine, actually, in one of their videos that was taken down, only had a 15-second long video of Dr. Hawkins without him even talking, or without him, like, it didn't even have audio. They had put, you know, their own words over it and their own music. They were just showing it as basically they had made a video that was like a tribute to Dr. Hawkins, and they had showed that clip as a tribute to him. Just a 15-second clip of him in one of his lectures. And that video got a copyright strike because of that 15-second clip without any audio or sound. So it's just not worth it to even try to do anything like that. And yeah, that's it. Basically, that's my message to creators about Dr. Hawkins. I know that as a student of Dr. Hawkins, we all get so passionate because his teachings are so profound and so helpful that when you hear them, it's almost like you can't help but to want to share them with others. But unfortunately, due to this current circumstance, you kind of have to hold your tongue, you know, and it sucks, you know, this kind of silencing, but it is what it is. And, you know, we have to deal with the reality of it and move forward basically with things as they are. So that's the situation. I just want to make that word of caution. Those are all my thoughts on, you know, the re-uploaded edition. Thank you if you watched this introduction. I know it was way longer than I wanted it to be, but it was a lot that was on my heart for months that I wanted to finally express and share. So thanks for bearing with me, and very soon the video will begin, the actual video, and you get to enjoy that. So thank you. Again, my name is PJ. Thank you for watching this introduction. Thank you for watching this video. And without further ado, enjoy the letting go technique video. What's going on, guys? My name is PJ, and this video is going to be somewhat a short and sweet video compared to my usual videos that I go a lot more in depth into different topics. This one is a lot more of a practical, applicable video because I'm really talking about a technique that I have found to be super beneficial in my life, very helpful, and I know that it also has been very helpful for many people. And this technique is from a book by Dr. David Hawkins that I'll put a picture up right here. So this book is called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, and within this book, that is recommended by many other people, many other, individuals on YouTube specifically, like Russell Brand, as one of the most helpful books he's ever read. But this book has been very well known and very helpful to a lot of people because it teaches a technique called the letting go technique. And this technique is a technique that we are called to use to handle emotions, especially negative emotions, but it's really meant to be used for all emotions. And throughout life, not many people teach us how to handle our emotions because not many people know how to handle their own emotions. So we have to kind of practice something before we can teach it. And this technique is the method that Dr. Hawkins, who is truly one of my favorite spiritual teachers, and his books, the Power versus Force series that actually consists of 9 books, Letting Go being the last one and Power versus Force being the first one. His books, his lectures are incredible, and even though he's not physically with us anymore, I truly feel like his body of work remains and is still very much alive, and even I would say more relevant than ever before in 2021. So the technique itself, Dr. Hawkins in that book starts with saying that most people and most of the time we know how to handle situations and our emotions in 3 main ways. And none of these ways, according to Dr. Hawkins, are super beneficial in handling emotions in general. So the techniques that are not beneficial are projection. So we feel an emotion and then we project it outwardly. Another one is repression. So we shove an emotion down and we try to act like we don't feel it. We don't have that emotion running in our body and repressing it, which ultimately leads to sickness. And another way of handling emotions is expression. And expression is, actually pretty much preached in a public arena or in the, pop culture thinking. And that is, you have to express your feelings, get your feelings out, talk about your feelings, bring them out. And Dr. Hawkins, I would say, has a more controversial approach, saying that that is actually not a good thing because it's like you're getting that out onto someone else. Someone else has to now deal with it, and it actually ends up magnifying and expanding that emotion instead of releasing it, which is what we try to do with the letting go technique. So Tony Robbins actually says all the time that emotions are energy in motion. So the energy is trying to move and it's moving, but a lot of times these 3 methods, we actually don't let that energy move as it should, and we kind of block the movement and the motion of that energy, which then these blockages in Chinese medicine, these blockages, these energy blockages, these qi blockages end up causing dis-ease within our bodies, and eventually we get sick because that emotion still is trying to find an outlet. So another thing that Dr. Hawkins says is that we oftentimes think that events outside of us trigger emotions within us and that event is responsible for our emotion. But basically, Dr. Hawkins says that these emotions, it's almost like a pressure cooker, and they've been building up and building up and building up. So let's say you've had a lot of fear running in your system, so to speak, for a long time. And that fear has just been building up and building up and building up. And it may be out of your awareness in this present moment, but then you see an event, you hear a news story or something, and that event causes that pressure that has been building up, that fear pressure that has been building up, to now manifest itself to you and to your conscious mind. So now you're aware of it, but in reality, that fear was there already, and that event just kind of triggered what already was building up within yourself. So now you actually have an opportunity, and this is where the letting go technique comes up. So now you're aware of this feeling that you're running in your system. So, wow, I'm feeling a lot of fear. I'm feeling a lot of anxiety. I'm feeling a lot of stress. I'm feeling a lot of despair, grief, anger, all those emotions. And I actually will put a chart of the map of consciousness, or the map of the levels of consciousness that Dr. Hawkins presented and introduced to the world. And below 200, these are all very negative and I was going to say destructive, but they're just draining energies. Above 200 is what Dr. Hawkins would call power, and underneath it would call force, meaning force exerts and runs out, whereas power doesn't run out, even though it's way more powerful and has a lot more energy. So below 200, all these emotions, they may come up for us, right? And so the way we actually move from the bottom of this map higher is by letting go of these emotions, or rather letting themselves run themselves out. So this is where the letting go technique comes in. The letting go technique is very simple, and I personally had to read it over and over and over again because I just couldn't understand the simplicity of it, because it's simple but it's also very difficult to do in practice. So the letting go technique goes something like this. An emotion comes up within you. So it could be fear, it could be stress, it could be, whatever. The emotion comes up. Instead of doing those 3 mechanisms that I said before, instead of doing any of those, just be with the sensation of the emotion within your body. So know that this emotion, even though you call it something, you have a label for it, like fear, like anxiety, like grief, or whatever, that label is really just a unique flavor of sensations. So, some people would say, I feel anger in my belly, or I feel anger in my heart, my heart closes, or a bunch of different feelings might be happening in your body. So instead of calling it or trying to label it as to, oh, this is anger, oh, I'm feeling grief, don't label it. And Eckhart Tolle would say this also, refrain from labeling. Just be. It's helpful, especially in the beginning, to close your eyes and really almost meditate, be in a meditative state versus trying to go about your day and doing the letting go technique simultaneously. In the beginning, it's like riding a bicycle. You have to have your training wheels on. So help yourself in this practice by closing your eyes and just blocking out everything else and being focused in your inner world. Then be the space that is holding all these emotions. So all these sensations, again, we're not calling them anything. They're just a bundle of sensations. So be with that sensation. Is it burning in your stomach? Is it a tenseness in your heart? Where do you feel it? And just be with that. Don't try to do anything about it. Just be with it. And eventually, by being with it, this energy, and it honestly might take, some things are so intense that, and might have been building up for so long, like I said earlier, that fear might have been building up for so long. Some things may be so intense that it does take a decent amount of time and a decent amount of practice sessions to really run that emotion out. And so you do it a little bit at a time. Some things you may run out like within, whatever, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Depending on the intensity of that emotion. So let's say an emotion comes up, a stress related to work or an anger towards a coworker or something. You sit with it, you feel it, you pay attention to where you feel it in your body, and you just are with it. You don't try to do anything about it. And here lies the simplicity of this technique. You're just letting it all be. And I watched an amazing YouTube video on this technique. I think it was by a channel called Stewed of Birds or something like that, which that video was amazing. I highly recommend you guys check it out, and I might even link it down below. But he was saying how the terminology of letting go would have been better if it was called letting be. And I absolutely agree with that, because the practice is one of radical acceptance. You're just sitting and are present with what is coming up for you. And I would go and say that 2020, 2021, and years to come, we are in a very tumultuous time, you would say, where a lot of emotions come up for us on a daily basis. But herein also lies the opportunity for expansion if we learn how to handle these emotions the right way. And the right way would be the letting go way. So emotions come up for us through our day-to-day lives. Be with these emotions. Let the emotions run out. The emotions eventually will run themselves out. And eventually you also become better at doing the letting go technique simultaneously as eating, walking. So let's say, I've had situations where I'm in a meeting. face to face with someone. And to me, it's a very uncomfortable meeting because we're going to discuss something uncomfortable in that meeting. Through practicing and through meditating and through doing these things regularly, I can now be with my eyes open, be in a situation and be able to feel the emotion come up and not close myself off to that emotion, or use one of those 3 strategies that are not helpful to handle that emotion. I can be with it as I'm talking to someone and feel it in my body. So I'm keeping some of my awareness within as I'm also keeping some of it without and paying attention to what the other person is saying. So you learn this is a dance with the emotion. You learn how to do this better and better. But it all starts with just sitting with that emotion, letting it come up and letting it go, or letting it let itself go. Because like I said, this emotion is energy in motion. But if we block the emotion, we don't let the emotion run itself out. So let it flow through you. And the reason also that this book the subtitle is called The Pathway of Surrender, because the letting go technique is a technique in surrender. We are saying, this feeling's coming up, I surrender it to God. It's helpful to have a belief in God or a higher power. Although I would believe that this technique can be used by those who don't even believe in God or a higher power. But it definitely is helpful to have that belief, because as Dr. Hawkins says, surrender is an act of the spiritual will. So if you don't believe in the spirit, you might be significantly hindered in your ability to handle emotions, because you're not letting go and letting God, letting something bigger than yourself, a different context of consciousness, so to speak, a field bigger than your own personal consciousness, with this infinite power to take that emotion from you and help you. So it is very helpful in this practice, in this pathway of surrender, to say, dear God, I surrender this emotion to you. So for me, actually, I'll segue into some of my own additions to this technique and what has helped me really take the letting go technique and put it on steroids, and just like add more power to it. Because at the end of the day, no technique is going to ever become a real part of our day-to-day life if it doesn't match our beliefs and our just preferences and our tendencies and how we tend to go about things. So for example, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about my own additions to this technique now, but I am a student of A Course in Miracles. So when I'm thinking about stuff and really trying to process my emotions, I do tend to think in terms of A Course in Miracles terminology, which the Course in Miracles talks about forgiveness a lot. So, and it talks about asking God for help a lot, and that it's almost like ask and you shall receive. Ask God for help, and God or the higher power, whatever terminology you are more comfortable with, that higher power will help you. God will help you, and it's all for your asking. You have to ask. The asking is a twofold thing, really, because you're setting your intention. Dear God, I want help with this as an intention, but you're also opening yourself up to receive that help. You're putting yourself in a receptive posture, in a more yin posture, so to speak. So the additions that I've added to this technique are not only being with this feeling, as the letting go technique suggests, and I also would say real quick, and I kind of forgot to say this earlier, but why do we even want to let go? Why do we want to even practice a technique like this? And here's what Dr. Hawkins says, one of the best ways, and if you want to actually learn more information about this, I'll tag one of my other videos up here. And in that video, I go a lot more in depth as to why we even want to use a technique like letting go. But basically, Dr. Hawkins says we move up this ladder of consciousness through the letting go technique by letting these lower emotions go, letting them run through us and letting them out. We actually ascend up the ladder by removing the weight that is keeping us down versus reaching and clawing up the ladder. No. Yes, we need to be devoted to the path and dedicated to our evolution of consciousness. But the actual evolution of consciousness happens more by us letting go of what is holding us down. So if you imagine we are in a balloon, and we naturally would go up if allowed, if something wasn't weighing us down. Now, if you have a brick holding that balloon down, that brick is what's actually limiting the natural tendency of that balloon to go up. So our most effective approach would not to be add like 1,000 engines to this balloon to make it more powerful. It would be to remove and cut the tie that's holding that brick connected to that balloon, and then naturally the balloon would just go up. So it's the same thing with ascending levels of consciousness or going up the ladder of consciousness. Anger comes up for you, which is under 200 right here. Feel it all, and then let it go. Surrender it to God. Just be with it. It will run itself out. Emotions run themselves out, and you will find yourself being going higher and higher and higher, almost to no end, as you do this for years. Because it's a lifelong practice. You're learning how to handle emotions, and emotions are always going to come up, throughout our life. So it's a lifelong practice, but it's a worthwhile practice. So that's why we do the letting go technique in general. But some of the helpful things that I have found in doing this technique is surrendering to God. So like for me, I actually speak and I ask God for help. So yes, I am feeling this feeling. Yes, I am doing what the letting go technique suggests, but I'm also asking, dear God, I'm feeling this sensation in my body, this what I would call anger. You will help me, please surrender it or understand it or deal with it however it's your will that I deal with it. And I've found that I get insights in my mind as to, okay, yes, I'm going to feel this and let it run itself out, but also there might be things that I need to address, right? So another thing that Dr. Hawkins says that it's an important point to mention is that feelings come with a bundle of thoughts. And thoughts are actually labeled based on feelings. So let's say we feel an emotion of fear. A lot of times we try to deal with this emotion of fear by analyzing the thoughts that come along with it. But Dr. Hawkins says that's not a helpful approach, because that feeling is literally generating thousands of thoughts, an endless amount of thoughts, to keep that feeling alive or make us kind of like, it's our mind's way of trying to understand this and deal with this. But it's not the most effective way, because it's constantly generating more and more. So once you deal with some thoughts, it's going to be even generating more thoughts. So the feeling will actually help us more in our journey of self-realization if we deal with it directly. So instead of going to the thoughts that are coming along with the feeling, go to the feeling itself. That's why we do the letting go technique, and feel the feeling versus thinking about the thoughts that are coming with the feeling. But here's the second point that really has helped me. So the first point was asking God for help, praying or surrendering it to God. So like bringing your higher consciousness in willingly, asking willingly for help. So that's the first thing that really helps. But the second thing that really helps is, so in the Course in Miracles, which is the path I follow, and this may apply to your path, whatever spiritual path you follow. But in the Course in Miracles, you have what's called the workbook of students that has these 365 lessons, one for each day of the year. And these lessons come in the form of like a really short saying, like a really small phrase that then has more explanation underneath it. But that small phrase is something that you want to keep in mind. It's like a mantra. You want to keep in mind as you go throughout your day. Whatever my lesson of the day is, or whatever lesson I find helpful and I love, I keep that lesson in mind. So as this feeling is coming up, this emotion is coming up, this whatever it is fear, anxiety, whatever it might be, as it's coming up, I feel the emotion. Don't try to call it anything. Feel the sensation. I ask God for help. Dear God, I surrender this to you. If I'm supposed to understand it, help me understand it. If I'm supposed to let it go, help me let it go. All that, as I'm doing all that, then I try to fill my mind. As I said, this emotion is generating all these thousands of thoughts in my mind. I try to plant a seed of what I know to be absolute truth, aka the lesson of the Course in Miracles that I find helpful, I try to implant that absolute truth in my mind. So instead of running and being pulled by these thousands of thoughts that this emotion is generating, I try to insert or implant this seed of a positive thought or an absolute truth in place of all those thoughts. So one of the lessons that I really love from the Course in Miracles is I am still as God created me. And in the Course in Miracles terminology, that means a lot more than just that little saying. But when I say that, I know how much it means to me. When I say I am still as God created me, I believe I am still innocent, I am still pure, I am still loved, I am still loving. There's nothing that has removed the love of God from me, because I am still as God created me, and God loves me through eternity as I am, as I will forever be, as He created me. So you have to really be familiar with the Course in Miracles to really get this. But for me, that works. So I think, for example, or I might think about my lesson of the day, which might be different than that line. But, I may implant that thought, I am still as God created me, as I'm feeling this emotion, as I've surrendered to God. So my mind is now a base of truth. So it's like holding on to the rock of truth in here. In my body, I'm feeling the emotion, and the emotion is running itself out. It's like a flame that is ultimately it's going to run itself out, or like a candle. A candle is ultimately always going to run itself out, but some candles take forever to run themselves out. So just keep that in mind and be patient with yourself. Have grace for yourself, and lean on the grace of God for you as well. So I would say those are like the two main additions that I have found to be helpful. Implant your mind with a thought of truth. For you, it can be like, God loves me, or whatever it might be for you. I don't know. I don't want to give you words to put in your mind, but whatever it is for you that really gives you a sense of this is absolute truth. This is love. This saying, this thought. Plan that in your mind as all those emotions are coming up, so that your mind has become a foundation of truth. As you're feeling these emotions, feel it in your body. You have to be connected to your body and really pay attention to where you're feeling this emotion in your body, and let it run itself out. Be with it. Have acceptance for the feeling. Don't try to judge it or judge yourself. Wow, I thought I dealt with this anger about this issue. I thought I'm over this fear about this certain thing. If it's still there, it's still yours to deal with, and it's okay. It's okay. Be very gentle with yourself and hold yourself like you would hold a child, like a loving father or mother. Hold yourself in that posture. Have that compassion for yourself and lean on, for me, I imagine God is holding me. And I imagine that I am the parent for that emotion. So for example, if I'm feeling all this sensation, all this fear or anger or jealousy or whatever it might be, as I'm feeling it, I am the parent that is allowing and giving the space for that emotion to just be and to just exist. I'm not judging it, I'm not shaming it, I'm not guilting it, I'm just letting it be as it is. And eventually, just like a child would play all over the place and just go crazy for a while, and then eventually get so tired and just fall asleep and run itself out of energy, it's literally the same thing with these emotions. These emotions, another spiritual teacher that I really love, his name is Phil Good. You can find him on YouTube or Instagram. But he says these emotions are like children that have been kept in cages, and not able to come to light. Now that they have found an outlet to come to light, they are excited to be free. So they're running, wild, and you just gotta let them run, hold them like those children that have been caged within you. That fear, all that pressure that was caged within you, that was building up. It's a good thing that now it has found a way to come out of that cage and into your consciousness and into your experience. And now you have an opportunity to be with that compassionately, be with that emotion and feel it and let it run itself out. And you will find yourself ascending higher and higher up this ladder. Hence why 2020 and the years that follow is our biggest opportunity for spiritual advancement and growth, because every day we're presented with new challenges and new things that cause emotions in us, that bring those emotions out, those children, those emotional caged emotions, they bring them out of that cage and allow us to see them. And by seeing them, but by letting them be and letting them go, will keep growing. And 2020 and 2021 and all these years, they become our platform on which we can ascend from. So really, we live in an amazing time and a great opportunity that we have right now to ascend by using the letting go technique. So that's why I want to make this video. I know I went a lot longer than I expected, but this technique can change your life, and I wanted to really make it because it's going to be something that you will need, and it's going to be very helpful for you during this time, this challenging time on our planet, as more emotions come up, and we need to be skilled at how we handle our emotions, because it's, at the end of the day, never about what happens out there. It's about how we handle what happens out there. And a good book that really talks about this is Man's Search for Meaning, and how Viktor Frankl dealt with the emotions of being in a concentration camp in Auschwitz, Germany. And, you know, I would highly recommend reading that book. I'll tag it below, actually. So you can see how it's not the emotion or not the situation, but it's how we handle the emotions that really, in that situation, meant the difference between life and death. And that's true both physically and metaphorically. We gain more life, we get more joy, we get more serenity and abundance and peace as we let these feelings go and learn how to handle and respond to our emotions. And we just get better and better with time, and as we do it more often, and our life gets better. And so it literally leads to more life. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please, if you are interested in topics related to spirituality or things that I just talked about in this video, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video specifically, please like it so I'll know that this type of content is appreciated, so I'll make more videos just like this one. Thank you again. My name is PJ, and I hope you guys have a great experience with the letting go technique. And please let me know how your experience goes with this and with your emotions going forward. So thank you, and I will talk to you guys in the near future. Bye.